I don't know where she got all that stuff. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
My name is Vince. I'm in recovery from a recovering alcoholic, food addict, and I belong to the ACA, CODA, and a few other crazy activities. And if they start a new one tomorrow, I probably belong to that one too. So it's not a problem. I want to take some time today and kind of share some things with you that might help a little bit. You know, first of all, it's good to be here and see a lot of faces I haven't seen in a long time, especially my girlfriend over here, Jardine, who we go back a lot of years. That means we're old, right?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, back to the early 80s. Fairmont, right? 81.
Just elections.
I know. Charter Fairmont, 81, my God. Anyway, I thought I'd just do something a little bit different today, and then afterwards, if you have any questions or things you want me to talk about, I'll be glad to. I like the hair, it's pretty neat. That's all right. Can I have some? I get jealous, I can't help it. But anyway, I've learned three things. I want to kind of bring it out to you. You've heard this phrase about 15,000 times. You know, it's important for ACOAs especially. Live, laugh, and love. The 3 L's, I call them. And they're really important. Because I really believe that we have to learn how to live, laugh, and love. But I want to kind of share some words with you, and maybe I can kind of elaborate on them a little bit. I thought about this coming over in the car today. You know, I just kind of thought about thinking that some of the things that we do as ACOAs. One is for a long time, many of us, and we've got to remember, I'm saying many of us, I'm talking about me. For a long period of time, we spent a lot of time hiding, running away from life, avoiding. And many of us found a lot of neat hiding places. I know I found a neat one. 20 years in the priesthood, it was fantastic. They even gave me a uniform, it was nice. But I learned something in those years, even though I probably did a lot of good and did a lot of stuff for people, there was no me. I still remember to this day, going back, way back, you know, and people trying to tell me to work on me, and I wasn't ready to work on me because I was too busy working on everybody else. And it takes a while to be able to get through that process, as I call it. The other words I want to talk about are, so many of us live in image. You know, we have a tendency to live externally but not internally. And as a result then, one thing I've learned about ACOAs over the year, myself included, is that we're very good externally, and we're great performers. Many of us basically can run companies. It's amazing. But our own life, that's another whole story. You come right down to it. And finally, I think that a lot of us don't realize it, but I know in my own life too. We have a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, and we kind of hold a lot of stuff in, and we put a nice little front on the outside. But a lot of that's centralized around what I call the most scariest word for ACOAs, and that's control. We live a lot of our lives just trying to stay in control. And very many times we have a tendency to want to control others too. And so as a result, we kind of got caught up in the drama of our childhood. So I want to kind of look at that because I really believe that so many of us have a tendency to isolate, to hide. And again, I'm not going to bring this into my own life and kind of share part of my own story with you and kind of connect the dots for you. But I can look back on my own journey and realize the fact that growing up in my childhood, which was back in the 40s. My parents, you know, I always joke about this a little bit, but my parents came from the old country. They came from Italy. And my parents were part of an arranged marriage, you know, and, you know, basically they didn't even have a choice in who they married. And my Italian family used to joke and say, your father met your mother on Tuesday, married her on Friday, and back to work on Monday. Took care of that relationship. Then they had to hang out together for 40 years after that. And sometimes I wonder, because I even joked the fact that 18 years after they were married, I was born. Now, they were married in 1922, and I was born in 1940. I have no idea what they did for those 18 years. And there's actually a joke in my Italian family. See, I have no idea if any of this stuff is true or not true. I go by the stories they told back then. And sometimes you didn't know if those stories were real and they weren't real, because basically they kind of didn't tell kids too much back then. So as a result then, that's true. You say, yeah, I don't care. Well, the thing I love so much about it is, you know, I look at this concept that my family actually said, my father got drunk and went in the wrong room one night, and here I am. What can I tell you? I had my first connection to alcoholism way back then. But I realized today that a lot of my foundations, a lot of my basics come from my early years. As most of us know, and I do this all the time when I do my therapy groups, my inner child groups, and things of that effect, the foundation of everything in life are those first 10 years of your life. And basically the things we experience going through life. We pick up our traits, we pick up our characteristics, and I know about you, but when the book Adult Children of Alcoholics came out in the early 80s, I can still remember, you know, how that book scared the hell out of me. When I read that book, I just got so scared because I really, for the first time, first of all, I thought she lived in my house. But then I realized something. Many of us lived in my house. And many of us lived in our houses. And as a result, then, I realized the fact that my parents were dysfunctional. Now, you know, I don't look at that negatively, by the way. I'll get to that in a minute. My parents won awards for dysfunctionality. And I can tell parent stories, you know. I love telling Italian parent stories. They're a lot of fun, I tell you. But, you know, I look back at my mom, I look back at my dad. But I say this today in recovery. I don't think I could have survived what they did, or came through what they came through. So I have to give them a lot of credit today. You know, in 1985, 1983, when this stuff first came out, I was pretty angry at my mother. She was the addict in my family. My mother was into a lot of pills. She was a hypochondriac. My mother was a little bit on the crazy side. And my father was probably Mr. Codependent of the century. I picked up all these traits, all these characteristics, but I realized something today. I can look at them and see them positively. See, I've learned over the years that whatever happened in my life, what happened in your life, it happened. But I can deny it, I can run away from it, I can beat the crap out of myself over it, I can look at it negatively, or I can learn to process it. Now, my favorite spiritual word, I share this all the time, I should give you a test. My favorite spiritual word, and I use it all the time, is fertilizer. So I want you to take some time today, I want you to meditate on fertilizer. Now, where does fertilizer come from? You can say it.
Shit.
Thank you. Thank God there's somebody in here. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
See, we all got a bunch of crap, let's face it. Come on. Isn't it wonderful? But here's a choice. I can sit in my crap, and it smells. Or I can process it. It becomes perfume. See, I learned something in the program. A lot of the old-timers in AA used to say that. They used to talk about the fact that whatever happened in your life, you have choices. I can look at it, embrace it, and realize the fact I have to accept it, and then learn from it and grow from it. It becomes my teacher. One of my favorite books, and I use it for meditation a lot of times, is a book I got from AA, and it's called Stools and Bottles. I don't know if any of you ever heard of it or connected with it. But Stools and Bottles is a simple little book that talks about the three-legged stool. And the stool has 3 legs on it. And the legs represent the first 3 steps of AA, or the first 3 steps of recovery in all of our 12-step programs. And what I've learned over the years is when I talk about spirituality and the aspect of our spiritual growth and learning how to become a spiritual person, I define spirituality totally differently because when I talk about it, I don't talk about religion. The word actually means to come to an awakening of my personal self, to get in touch with your personal spirit. You know, some of the hardest questions I ever had to deal with in my life were, who am I? What am I all about? So back into my story, my mother basically, when I was born, and here's the thing I'm going to try to show people, which is really important. Not only is it my history, it's her history, it's all the histories of things around us. You learn to forgive and to heal as you go through life. But I realized my mother, basically, when I was born, I kind of became her spouse. And my therapist said I actually participated with my mother in something called emotional incest, and also a little bit of physical incest, too. And so I experienced today that a lot of my normal growth process didn't really take place as a child. My mother kind of spent her life around me, and I picked up a lot of shame and a lot of guilt. And as a result then, I literally lived in her shadow. I mean, I can joke about this stuff today. But believe me, when I was going through this in therapy, I didn't joke. But the concept is, how would you like to be a little boy growing up in a place in New Jersey called Camden, and stay out of there, by the way, and basically, you know, have this whole concept again of your mother going out with you when you go out to play, and she tells the other kids not to hurt you. That does wonders for your ego. You know, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of overprotection. And then my mother actually planned my priesthood for me. You know, again, today I can relate to that because I can look at it intellectually. But down here it's a whole different story. Because I realize my mother came out of her world. And you got to realize the Italians way back then basically used to delegate kids to be the family clergyman. I'm the delegated kid. I'd have a choice. And so as a result, I went in when I was 14 years old. And I realized my life, I was so naive, I had no idea what the hell was going on. So as a result, I was picking up traits, characteristics, and things way back then because I was shut down. Go back to those words I talked about earlier. I basically had no idea who I was, no sense of myself at all. And so what I did, you know, basically I found the seminary a great hiding place. It was a place where they gave me an identity, they told me who I was, and they kind of molded me. And so I really didn't have to be my own person or have a real sense of my own self. So I really, deep down inside, was spiritually dead. But to the outside, I was being molded into what other people wanted me to be. And I'll be honest with you, it was comfortable. Well, it was comfortable because I didn't have to think, I didn't have to make decisions, and I could just be what everybody else wanted me to be. I had no voice. And to me, the most important part of recovery is your voice. It's powerful. You come right down to it. I didn't have a voice as a child. I didn't have a voice in the seminary. And I was drilled into a place to hide and run away from life. Again, they put me out of the world and became a priest. And basically, even in the priesthood, you know, I hid in other areas. I went into that fantasy world, that image world. You know, to the outside world, I appeared to be all together. In my own personal life, I was doing a lot of hiding. You know, because I never looked at these so-called ACOA issues. You have to excuse me. I know in Pennsylvania it's ACA. In New Jersey it's ACOA. So it's the same. It's the same crazy stuff though. You can write down. But the bottom line was, I still remember, you know, when I went to my first parish, and I did a lot of hiding in that parish. Although I probably was the great caretaker of the world. Now, think about it for a minute. I went into the priesthood, coming out of the seminary, had no idea who I was, naive as hell, had no sense of my own body, and as a result then, I walked into a rectory and came to find out, here we go again. The pastor of the parish was an alcoholic. I walked into hell. You know, God does this stuff to you, you know? And I thank him for the word. The concept is, I realize over and over again today that every situation I was brought into for a purpose. Because I know that even in that situation, even though I saw him as an alcoholic, I knew that all this stuff that was happening, because I even began to use alcohol myself to go to sleep at night, because I couldn't stop. So ACOAs migrate in that direction too. But here's the point I'm trying to bring out. I was living in this outside world, and in 1969, a gentleman from the parish I was in Vineland, New Jersey, I call him one of my first angels. You know, angels come to take us places and do things we have to do. Well, I call them the miracles of recovery. I got one sitting right here. It's fantastic. But that's you. You didn't know that, did you?
No.
Okay. You, Marie Zorin, all those great people. Oh, God. Right here, I'm telling you. It's going to be powerful even to see you here today. The beautiful thing I love so much about this is I realize people come to you. And this gentleman named Morgan, who I knew from Adam, came to the rectory, and he said, I want you to come with me. I said, where are we going? He said, don't worry about it. Get in the car. I said, really? Of course, I'm a real good ACOA. You never say no. So I got in the car. He took me to an Al-Anon meeting. See, I thought that everything I was doing in that parish, I was keeping secret. See, I love to keep secrets. And so I thought nobody knew what was going on because I got everything done. I made sure. I did all the weddings, all the funerals, I did everything. I even kept the books. I don't know what the hell I was doing, but I did it anyway. The bottom line was, you know, he took me to Al-Anon, and these very strange people at Al-Anon. You know, they're really weird. You know, because I went there because I really wanted them to give me the formula to fix him. They're really weird people. They kept telling me to work on me. I mean, I'm a real good ACOA. I didn't need any work. After all, I was a priest. I had a uniform. I looked nice. What do you mean I need work? They kept telling me to work on me. I kept telling them, you people got it all wrong. See, Al-Anon's supposed to have these formulas. You go there and they give you the formula to fix other crazy people. And so, don't ask me why. I know it's a God thing. I figured, what the hell, I'll keep going anyway. Maybe I'll convince them after a while. It didn't work. The good thing was they talked me into a transfer. I left that parish finally. Went to Atlantic City. Went to an all-African-American parish in Atlantic City. And basically decided I was going to save the world in Atlantic City. I'm great at what we do. I love it. It's amazing. And I basically went to save the world in Atlantic City. And I volunteered for about 27 jobs. I do always do. I was Crusader Rabbit back then. And as a result, basically, when I went there in 1972, I had a nervous breakdown. See, I learned one thing about ACOAs. We have a tendency to beat the hell out of ourselves, to be hard on ourselves. We have a tendency to overdo. And believe me, this is my story. And as a result then, in the hospital, I met this very interesting doctor. And by the way, he was a pain too. Because I don't understand this. I think he went to the Al-Anon meeting. He said to me the exact same thing that people at Al-Anon said. In fact, a little stronger. He said, Vince, what's wrong with you? You're on a suicide mission. You have no idea who you are. You have no sense of yourself at all. You're in a process of killing yourself. He said, what's going on with you? The good thing about that doctor, I love him to this day, he is the first person to identify my alcoholism. And with the grace of God, he got me started in that direction. But I'm an addict. Come on. You know, we all are. Congratulations. Isn't that great? I put the alcohol down, and I went to meetings, but I'm what they refer to as a two-stepper. People in the program know what a two-stepper is? I did the first step. How much you want me to do? Right? I figured, what the hell? I just jumped to number 12. And so I decided to become, you know, Crusader Rabbit again. I want to save the world. Because now I found something else. And back in those days, it was a lot of fun. You know, because back in those days, I tell stories all the time. We took people to treatment and didn't even know where they were going. It was totally amazing. You know, we used to tie guys up, put them in vans. It was so much fun back then. It was unbelievable. I love telling my classic story. You want a classic story? I got to get you to laugh a little bit. I should get you to tell this one. You know it, don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
I know you do. But years ago, I used to hang out at a place in Philly called the South Philly Group. It's an AA group in South Philadelphia. They really helped me to get a lot of my stuff at Starting Point started way back in the beginning, because the original Starting Point was on Point Breeze Avenue. And a lot of the crazy guys from South Philly used to help me get things started. But we had this guy used to come to meetings way back in the early 80s. His name was Little Joe. Now, I'm not telling you his real name, okay? I'm just using the name. Yeah, I never use real names when I give a talk. I don't think it's right. But anyway, Little Joe used to come to meetings, and he had a problem. He smelled. See, when he got to the meeting, you could tell when he came through the door, because we had to redo the whole room when he came through the door. He was off the streets. And basically, he would disrupt our meeting constantly. It was a real pain. And eventually we got tired of him. So we decided one day we're taking him to treatment. And he didn't want to go to treatment. We're taking him anyway. And so we got rope and we tied him up. Nobody would put him in their car because it stunk. We found a rug laying in the street. We laid him in the rug, rolled the rug up, and duct taped it shut. A friend of mine in South Philly is an undertaker. We borrowed the hearse. We slid Joe in the back of the hearse, took him to Camden Detox, took him out of the hearse, put him on our shoulders, and we sang Amazing Grace as we brought him to detox. We had so much fun back then, it was unbelievable. But this is typical ACOA stuff. You know, I want to crash into the world. I want to take care of the world. I want to fix this one. I want to fix that one. I want to go here. I want to go there. And I was on a run. Crazy part about it was, though, I picked up addiction number 2, my eating disorder. And you remember me way back, I was a little larger than I am today. I basically ended up, you know, mushrooming close to 300 pounds as I went on a tear with my eating disorder. See, one thing we have to try to understand, all of us, because of our addictive personality, I can make almost anything into an addiction. It's scary. So as a result, I'm picking up these patterns, and my codependency was totally out of control. And I can stay here now and tell you the stories of that time, because God, I helped so many people get things started. I even founded Starting Point back during that period of time of my eating disorder. I did all kinds of stuff. It's just unbelievable. But I got to tell you a story. I told this at the anniversary. There's a gentleman in Philadelphia, a gentleman I'm forever grateful to, another angel. His name was Norm D. And Norm D was a very special person in my life. Again, I was over in Philly one day, and, you know, by the way, nothing happens by accident. I happened to meet Norm. Came up to me, because I was a priest at the time, and he asked me some questions because he was gay, and he wanted to know if certain things, and we just got into this big discussion. He said, well, he said, come on, I'm going to a meeting, you want to come with me? I said, sure. So we went to a meeting in Philly called the Mustard Seed. Many of you here probably know that one, on Sampson Street. And don't ask me why, I really got intrigued by that meeting. And a year later, I took a leave of absence from the priesthood because I was still going through a lot of confusion, because I really didn't want to be in the priesthood, but I did, and I didn't, I did, and I didn't. I couldn't make any decisions. My life was kind of wacky, but I was going around doing everything for everybody else. I was into that whole concept. I didn't realize how angry I was, how frustrated I was. And as a result, basically, Norm kind of befriended me, took me to St. Luke's Hospital. In St. Luke's Hospital, I got together with 5 other guys. I was visiting up there. I used to visit the patients in the hospital. I couldn't even take a leave of absence. I just kept doing the same stuff. And so as a result, we got together and we started Starting Point, which was 1977. And I still laugh about this today, and I love telling the story. Okay. One of the guys in the group said, I got a house on 23rd Street. You can have it. I said, I can have it? He said, sure, here's the keys. He said, go down, start the halfway house down there. 1739 South 23rd Street. I never forget it, 1977 in October. I went down there, and the house was boarded up. I said, thank you for the keys to a boarded up house. We took the boards off, got the door open finally, and had to get rid of a few visitors that were in there. Little guys running around, you know, little things crawling on the walls. It was a very interesting place. You probably would have loved it. It's fantastic. So I had 6 guys that were detoxed and living off the street that came with me, and we cleaned the place up. And the only problem was a couple of the windows weren't working right. In fact, they were missing. And the roof was leaking. It was a mess. What can I tell you? But we had fun. We got started. We got a bunch of sleeping bags, and we got the guys started, and things began to work. And then the miracles started to happen. See, this is the thing I want to share with you. It goes back to those first 3 steps. Let's go back to them for a minute. Did you ever notice something in the first step of our program? The first word, the most important word in the first step. The word is we. I want to tell you, the most important word in the program, because this is not anything that we can do by ourselves. We need to be interconnected with one another. We learn from each other. That's why it's a we program, not an I program. And that's why it's so important to keep it simple and realize the fact that none of us are any better than anybody else. I love the old timers in AA because the old timers never celebrated anniversaries, never celebrated chips. They used to say all the time is, everybody only has one day. We have today. If you wake up in the morning, you got a day. See how simple it is? That simple, simple philosophy. In fact, they used to say to me, if you want recovery, keep it simple, stay stupid, and pray. Horrible formula, isn't it? But see, we're ACOAs. We've got to figure it all out. We've got to analyze it. You know, we've got to figure out where it came from, how this happened. We make ourselves nuts. It's amazing. I know. So the concept is, I have to realize now, what do? They tell me simplicity, and I got a complicated life. And by the way, I like complicated. Then I got more drama. See, I can really have fun then, right? That's good stuff, man. You know, but the concept is, I get scared. You know, the thing I'm learning in recovery today, I really connect this because I realized that first step also says 3 beautiful words: powerlessness, surrender, and the biggest of all, acceptance. Only if I can accept the reality of who I am can I then move forward. You know, I joke with the patients in the rehab. I always joke with them and say, please excuse me because I have to curse. Hope you don't mind me cursing. I hate to curse in front of you. I really hate to do this. Well, I apologize ahead of time. The 2 curse words of addicts. Here I go. Reality and responsibility. So excuse me for cursing. But it's true. They're not curse words. I got to face reality. This is my history. This is who I am. I have to embrace it and accept it. I'm not going to grow unless I accept it first. And I get really excited about this because for a long period of time, I wanted to change my history. You can't change your history. It's your teacher. And so I finally had to be able to get in touch with it. I'm so grateful today to so many angels and people that came into my life. And that gets us into the second step. Faith and trust. You're not in charge. Isn't that wonderful? ACOAs hate that. You're not in charge. You can't run the ball game. You have to figure it out. You know, I joke a lot today. I got to tell you something. A long, long time ago, I was 20 years old. I really was. I was. In 1960, I was 20 years old. And an amazing thing about being 20 years old was I knew everything. Isn't that wonderful? I knew everything. You didn't tell me a damn thing. I had it all figured out, had life figured out, no problems at all. And then something happened. I turned 30. I discovered the questions. How come you get the answer before you get the questions? Then I turned 40 and I don't care. I turned 50, really have fun. Then I turned 60. Wow. Anyway, seniors have more fun, right? Then I turned 70, and I'm really letting it hang out. You know, come down my neighborhood. I live in a 55 and over community. You'll see some of the sights in the morning. It's beautiful. You know, moo-moo dresses, people walking around with sneaks cut. You know, they don't care. Nothing matches. It's fantastic. I thank God for my wife, otherwise I'd be in the same category. This morning I came downstairs, she says, I said, the shirt you have on does not match what you're wearing. Go upstairs. I said, okay. We got to match. I'm matching. Here we go. I love it. I can laugh about this stuff today. That's what life is supposed to be. You got to live. You got to laugh. You got to enjoy. And celebrate one another. But I've learned you have to have faith. You have to have trust. Everything will work its way when it's supposed to work its way. Everything works in God's time, not in our time. My father used to say this to me when I was a kid, and I thought he was nuts. He used to say, "Impazienza," away on, "Impazienza." In Italian, that means, little boy, be patient. Everything will be taken care of. He used to say, look outside, the sun is shining. Enjoy the day. Stop trying to, just slow down, relax. I think he was in the program. You know, easy does it. Slow down, relax, take it easy. Don't worry about nothing. Life will take you where you're supposed to go. But sometimes it's a painful journey. But what I realized, it's pretty powerful, in that second step, I've learned that if I really learn to trust and have a sense of faith, everything will go when it's supposed to go, and when you get out of the way, things happen. I'll tell you a couple quick stories. When we started that building on 23rd Street, you know, we had nothing. And one day, the doorbell rang. We had a doorbell, by the way. The doorbell rang. I answered the door. A man was standing there, and he said to me, "Father, I heard what you're doing down here. How can I help?" I said, "Well, we could use the rest of the roof and straighten it out. Could use some windows, could use some furniture." He gave us a check for $10,000. And he said something I'll never forget. It's my way of giving back. He taught me the gift of service. When you give back, you get back. We were able to fix the house up and get it started. We needed paint. So a friend, one of my buddies from the South Philly group, you know, worked for the Philadelphia Electric Company. And so he decided to borrow, this is Italian talk, by the way, to borrow 75 gallons of green lead-based paint. Did we paint the transformers with? We painted the whole damn house, inside and out, with green lead-based paint. We wonder why I'm alive today. It's totally amazing. You know, the house, the paint was so thick it stuck the house together. In fact, I drove down 23rd Street. The house is still green after all these years. It's totally amazing. You come down to it. I laugh today. Oh my God, you know. And this is the stuff that used to happen. You know, Camel Soup gave us soup, no labels. We had no idea what was in it. Just opened the cans, got them in that pot. We called it recovery soup. It was fantastic. We didn't care. We were hungry. But it was the fun part of it all. You can laugh. And it was one of those houses in South Philly, you know, with the stove in the basement. Italians are weird. Upstairs is the place where you display everything for everybody. You're living in cellar. I think they, you know, I won't start that. I love it. I love crazy Italians. They're nuts. But the concept is, we got everything started. People chipped in, put stuff together. These are the miracles of this program. And I really believe in something very deeply today. Because I've learned over the years, all that crap I kept inside of me, all that garbage I held for a long time, I finally had to get in touch with it. And I'll never forget this. I got to give you the punchline. You know the punchline, so you're not allowed to talk. I'm joking. She's another one that goes back a few years. What the first time you started?
probably in your class.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's
Good
amazing.
heavens.
I know. It's amazing. But it's so good to see people and be connected with people. Because I looked at all the angels, all the people that come into my life, because I realized the fact that, they were my teachers. I learned from them. But I also realized that third step, that third part of the stool, to let go and let God. I can say this today. When I was a priest, I was not a spiritual person. I was a religious person. I can honestly say today, I now understand spirituality. To live in your spirit. And realize that God works inside of each and every one of us, wherever you choose to call God. It's our spirit that's inside of us that makes us who we are. It's our uniqueness. It's our specialness. And I get excited about this today because I realize the fact that the woman I'm married to today is the person who had enough guts to confront me and send me to see a doctor. And she's the one who confronted me about my eating disorder. She was a nurse. Those nurses are weird. They really are. We'll get in trouble now. But the concept is, if it wasn't for her turning that corner, another angel. That's one of the reasons I married her later. What the hell, you guys kidding me? I live with my food sponsor. It's fantastic. There's nothing unhealthy in my house to eat except the chair. That's the fun part about life today. My life has changed dramatically as a result of it. But the biggest thing was, she took me to see a doctor. That doctor worked with me, got me in touch with my childhood, with my stuff. Now, this guy did a lot of ACOA work. But guess what? He didn't even know what ACOA was. But he did the work with me. I'll never forget him. The greatest therapist I ever had. He was an Hasidic Jew. He wore the tassels and everything. And his wife was Catholic. That's one of the reasons why I liked him. He had a little bit of each. You don't worry about anything. Good therapist. He got me into my second 12-step program, which I still go to meetings today, called OA, Overeaters Anonymous, which I love. I love my home group. I love my people in the program. I met some wonderful people there, connected with it, and my life has changed dramatically. But I want to share this with you, the most important part of what I talk about today. Your history, the things you've gone through, they are your greatest teacher. Go back to that principle I talked about, the fertilizer principle. If we have the guts, and here's what the steps are really all about, especially steps 4 through 9. If I have the guts to process my history, to process my crap, and to realize the fact that I can learn something from it, from every negative thing that happens to us in life, if we have the strength and the courage and the faith, and we're open, it can become our teacher. Something positive comes from every negative. Was my mother dysfunctional? Yeah. Was she a little nuts? Yeah. That's why I love her. Was I angry at my mother? Extremely. I carried a lot of anger to my mother for a long period of time. It almost killed me. But once I dealt with it and got in touch with it, I realized today she fundamentally was my first teacher, one of my best teachers in the world. And I know she's here today. She's floating around here somewhere, her spirit is. I love saying hello to her every day. My father was one of my first teachers, part of the journey of life. You really come down to it. And I learned that when you process stuff and work through it, that's why I love using that term fertilizer. Because all the things that have happened to us in our life, our experiences, and we know this in the program, can one day become our strength. We can learn from it and we can grow from it, instead of beating ourselves up all the time. I try to tell ACOAs, I try to tell addicts, I try to tell everybody I meet in the course of the journey, look within the mirror and see how beautiful you are. See, to me, real spirituality is learning how to love me. I spent 44 years beating myself up. I love loving myself today. I'm having fun today. Laugh at life a little bit, okay? This is real spirituality. Even when it's not funny, it's okay. You can still laugh. Do you ever have those days when everything goes wrong and you want to run out the window? Don't. Just go sit in the corner and laugh. You'll get through it, don't worry. Never lose your sense of humor. Because life's going to take you all over the damn place. Curves and battles and everything else, but guess what? You're going to get hit, but you're going to get back up again. You're going to keep going. That's the important part of it. So I can see that as positive today. Do your work, stay within your own self, but build everything around faith and trust. Remember that three-legged stool that holds everything up. Those foundation steps lead to the other. And they lead to the last three steps of the program, which teach me gratitude. I call them the daily, everyday living steps: prayer, meditation, fill the soul. And it's so beautiful today, because I can carry a message today, but I want to carry it differently today by the way I live my life, by example. That's all I can do. I can't do anything else. And it might be a little thing, because service to me is giving somebody a hug, saying hello to somebody, and discovering the gifts that you have inside of you. I look around this room, you know what I see? A whole bunch of miracles. God's miracles. Every one of you, no matter who it is. You're on a journey. And just keep remember that you are a miracle, that you are someone special. Love yourself, respect yourself, honor yourself, care for yourself. And then just by who you are, reach out and touch another human being. That's how this whole thing works. It's simple and it's plain, it's not complicated. And so live. Enjoy life. Have fun. Okay, come on. Life is supposed to be lived. And it's the little things that make life what it is. You know, I joke with the addicts when I talk at the rehabs. I tell them they should hang around, you know, we call them winners, positive persons, places, and things. But I tell them, be careful when you hang around them, because they're weird. They're really weird. See, I told you, I warned you. There she is. They're weird. They have this thing called serenity, inner peace, tranquility. They wave. God, aren't they wonderful? They're so boring, though. God. I mean, come on. We love craziness, insanity, chaos, and drama. Let it go. Okay? Live. Are you going to change the world? No. I don't want to change the world. I want to change me. And hopefully, through the gift of changing me, I can touch another human being. That's how it works. Don't try to save the world. Believe me, I tried. It doesn't work. I had to learn to take care of me, work on me. It's a full-time job. Everything else will flow from there. And I've learned this over and over again. But you got to go through what you got to go through. So live every day to the best of your ability. Keep it simple. When you wake up in the morning, think about this for a minute. You're awake. Isn't that phenomenal? You've been given the gift of life for another day. It's powerful. You know, I remember the old-timers saying to me, they always joked. When you get up in the morning, they say, go downstairs, read the obituary column. If your name's not in it, you're having the most wonderful, fantastic day of your life. You can make the paper. Isn't that wonderful? Everything else can be dealt with if you have faith, if you trust, if you pray, you open the doors up and do the best you can for each day. And my sponsor said this to me a long time ago, and I thank God for him every day. He said, Vince, growth takes place a little bit at a time. I said, can I do that? It's enough. Slow down. You're not going to figure yourself out. Just be yourself. Laugh. Laugh at life. And learn to love. Love yourself and love others. Do the best you possibly can. And everything kind of goes where it's supposed to go. And I've learned when you get out of the way, it works. I want to close by sharing something with you, which is real simple and real plain. And my sponsor shared it with me a long time ago. He read me something called the 9th Step Promises. That's my stupid phone. I thought I shut it off. Okay, good. My phone drives me crazy. I shut it off. I actually shut it off in advance. Thank you, God. But the beautiful part about it is, you know, he read me the 9th Step Promises. And he said, you'll experience things beyond your wildest dreams, your wildest imagination. Personally, I thought he was nuts. But you know what? He was right. I've discovered gifts that I have inside of me I never even knew I had. I've been able to do things I never thought I would ever do before. I just published my 4th book. And I just have so much fun writing. I love to write today. You know where I learned to write? From the old timers in AA. They used to say write by hand. Not with machines, you write by hand. It's the greatest therapy on the face of this earth. And everything I do, I write by hand. And writing has opened so many doors in my mind. It's healed so much. It's opened so many things. And I realize to them, I say it to you, don't sell yourself short. You are the most gifted people on the face of this earth. Take it easy now, will you? Don't try to figure it out. Just enjoy it. Enjoy one another. Celebrate the moments. And go back to that basic foundation. Live, laugh, and love. So I want to thank you for letting me come out today. It's pretty neat. It's good to be back in the old neighborhood. I'm really excited because I parallel parked. I did a good job, too. I still remember. They say it's like riding a bike, right? Perfect. You know, got right in there. Went up a curb just a little bit. At least the curbs here are low. So I want to thank you because I love just being able to share some of my own experiences and things that happened. But remember, your experiences are powerful. So be happy with the gift of who you are as a person. Okay? All right. Is there anything you want to ask me? I'll try to respond to it. Yes. Who's back there? What's your name?
Jared.
Hi, Jerry.
I have a question about writing. I started writing, and then I get into like this hoarding thing. Like I want everything. I want to like have like journals that are like I think are going to be put in the Library of Congress or something. And then maybe I'll go back and look at them, and then then there's hours of reading them back. Should I want to just like burn them? Should I write them down and burn them?
You can burn them if you want to. I mean, don't worry about the writing is the process. That's what it's about. I learned the process when I write. And I learned over the years that I learned the gift of writing. And it comes in strange ways. You come right down to it. It's amazing. I'll tell you a story real quick. It might help you with that. You know, you don't have to keep the archives, by the way. You just write it. You know, keep it simple. But let me tell them. I got to tell them a story. I love stories. It's a Malvern story. In 1985, I used to give talks over at Malvern. I used to give them to the general public back then. And I was sitting in the cafeteria after one of my talks, and this lady named Annie was sitting with me. We're having coffee. And this is what I call angels, and people come into your life. I said to Annie, everybody's bugging me to write a book. I don't know how to write a book. I don't know what I'm doing. I said, someday I'm going to ask somebody to take my lectures and tape them and transcribe them on a computer. And then I'll have the stuff for the book. And he said, I did it already. They still worry about it. I said, what? I've come to your lectures for 2 years. I've been taping them, and I type them. So next week, she brought in a manuscript for my book. She handed it to me. That's faith, trust, and how the program works. So whatever you wrote, it's yours. You know, and just see where it goes. You never know. Keep it simple.
Hi, I'm Mary.
Hi, Mary.
And thank you so much. I've heard you a few times several years ago over at Starting Point, and when I heard you were coming today, I was very, very happy about it. I'm relatively new to ACA. I'm here in Philadelphia, but then I've heard the ACOA as well, and I'm trying to figure out what is which, and I go online, and so I'm a little confused, and there's this big red book, which is marvelous, adult children of alcoholics
Yeah.
and dysfunctional families, yeah.
Right.
And so,
There is no difference. When ACOA started, it was called ACOA.
Right, and so ACOA has evolved into ACA.
Correct.
Good.
some areas, they still call it ACOA.
There you go.
In our area in New Jersey, they still call it ACOA.
Okay.
That's because they got used to it. Well, fundamentally, it's the same thing.
Oh,
It's a little evolution. When Janet wrote that book, Adult Children of Alcoholics, and it came out, a lot of people basically said, how come these things pertain to me, and my parents weren't alcoholic? And so basically, believe it or not, in 1983, there actually was a 12-step movement called ACDP, Adult Children of Dysfunctional Parents, which later on evolved into ACOA. Okay, so it's interesting. I actually went to one of those meetings. I remember them. And I joked because I said, everybody belongs to it. It's so amazing. But there's an evolution that takes place in all recovery programs, okay? And ACA and ACOA are the exact same thing. It's just that it's evolved into ACA. Okay. But the principles, the concepts, everything's in that beautiful book. It's fantastic.
just real quick, so you said Janet wrote the book, Adult Children?
Janet Wallace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not the red book,
No, not the red book.
the original.
There's the book called Adult Children of Alcoholics. 1983, she wrote the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a little book about this big, and it's called Adult Children of Alcoholics. It's not part of the program. Okay? It's a piece of literature that she put together.
Cool. Thank you.
She's from North Jersey, and she actually lived in a home with an alcoholic, and she's the one that came up with the 14 traits and character. They call it the laundry list. She came up with that back in the beginning. Mhm. Yeah.
I thought that was the other guy who
Oh,
started.
yeah.
Tony, yeah, he started.
Yeah. But read the book. Read Adult Children of Alcoholics. You'll see the traits and characteristics are right in there. Right.
Thank you.
Concept of it. But the program didn't get started by her.
No, I know.
The program is something totally different. You gotta separate. Yes.
Vince, I've got a question for you. And this is, I'm gonna try and make this as clear as possible.
Impossible.
It is, it feels that way. So, what did your messy years look like for you?
My messy years?
Your messy years. Do you know what I mean by that? Like when you started to get your clarity and you started to operate more in your true self than your false self.
Okay. I might as well tell you my spiritual awakening story. You know, the messy years were the years that I basically was, actually, I gotta be honest, I was playing God. Okay, I was running around doing everything. Let me give you a quick synopsis, okay? When I got ordained and I went to that parish, I ran the parish. Typical ACOA, because the pastor was drunk all the time, so I ran the parish. I organized the youth program. I got involved in all the community stuff. I got involved in everything. I kept busy. You know, and then basically when I left the parish and went to the African American parish in Atlantic City, I got involved in everything. I'll just give you a quick synopsis. I just wrote my memoirs, and every stuff is in there. Basically, I taught high school part-time at Holy Spirit High School. And they had nobody to teach Black history, so I taught it. Never took the course, but I taught it anyway. I said one chapter ahead in the book. I learned it as I taught it. I was in charge of the cheerleaders. I have no idea how I got that job. I ran the chess club and never played chess. I took all the jobs. Nobody else wanted them, so I took them. And then, they basically, back at the parish, I was the legal rights chairman for the NAACP. I was involved in the civil rights movement. I was involved in the Great Pickers movement. You know, I got involved with Dr. King. I got involved in down south. I was in Selma. I went to all those different programs. I was running around like a nut. I helped 2 drug addicts start a drug program in Atlantic City, which is still there. I was going around taking people into treatment, doing all kinds of stuff. Started Starting Point, ran a halfway house for ex-convicts. I was prison chaplain I was a prison chaplain for Atlanta County Jail, part-time Rollway, part-time Trenton State Prison. You know, I was sick. I basically, typical, I was saying before, I don't want to get into all that, but basically I was like running. And that's when my eating disorder kicked in, and all my other stuff kicked in, and my spiritual awakening came, and I'll tell you the quick story of that one. I went to see that doctor, my wife, she wasn't my wife then. She asked me to go see, and he said something to me, which I'll never forget. You get in touch with the anger, the rage, the secrets, and the garbage you got inside of you. And I spent 3.5 hours with this man. He took me back to my childhood. If you ever get in touch with all this stuff, you'll be forced to make major decisions. You'll be forced to make major changes. You'll be forced to look at life. Because right now, he said, you're dead on the inside. You know, and he scared me, I'll be honest with you. But then the interesting thing was how God works in a program. I was running a halfway house for alcoholics in South Philadelphia. The next day, I was at the halfway house and I was angry at him. You ever get angry at people that tell us the things we need to hear? Anyway, one of the guys in the halfway house came back drunk. If you come back drunk, you have to leave. I told the man he had to leave. He told me he wasn't leaving. I told him he had to leave. He said he wasn't leaving. So typical, normally what you do in that case, call the cops and get him out of there. I was a little nuts back then. I decided to engage him and get into a big argument with him. He hauled off and punched me and hit me. Now here's the part of my life I don't remember. Apparently when he hit me, I snapped. I went after what they call today a rage blackout. I went after him to kill him. Now I thank God to this day there were 3 other men in my halfway house. You know, and they're the ones who told me the story because I don't remember any of it at all. I just was in another world. And they pulled me off of him, and eventually they calmed me down. And after they calmed me down, one of them said to me, jokingly, he said, "Father, we never saw you like this. You reminded us almost of the Incredible Hulk. You just went berserk." But the other guy said something to me which changed my life completely. I call these angels. He said, you weren't yelling at him, you were yelling at your mother. All the crap from my childhood came flying out of me in my rage. After he told me that, I went back to that doctor and I said I surrender. I almost had to kill somebody to finally wake up. You know, so I realized today, the thing that kept me sick for a long time were my secrets. I had so much stuff buried in here, you know, and basically I didn't know what to do with it. So I didn't even know it was there because I had blocked it so much. It was unbelievable. And then finally, with that rage, and it came out, I went back and I said, I surrender. I started therapy with him. He got me into the OA program. I got myself a sponsor. I began to work the steps. I began to do the work I should have done a lot of years ago. But you know, we're a little stubborn as addicts. We got to do it our way first. It doesn't work. You need to do it the other way. But I realized today that was the turning point in my life that began me on a whole different journey, which I'm grateful for. I really am. A lot of gratitude. Okay. But messy, it was messy. You know. And I think what the stuff you have to do, you know, and I only touched the surface. I mean, just to give you an idea how crazy I was, the priest I was living with over in St. Monica's in Atlantic City asked for a transfer to get away from me. Because I would tell everybody I met, I never slept. I was too busy running. I'd tell everybody, call me any time of the day or night. I was never home. We didn't have cell phones back then. Okay, we had landlines. He got all the phone calls. I kept him busy. What can I tell you? But he actually asked for a transfer because he said he couldn't take it anymore. You know, I look at that today and I realize I really hurt a lot of people. And I really do a lot of amends later on in my life and stuff. I thought I was helping people, but in many ways I was enabling people. I really was. I was enabling them, you know, because I've learned. And I'll tell you another story which I love telling. When I was in Atlantic City, I met this gentleman there. He's still in recovery today. His name was Sonny. And I love Sonny. Sonny was a street wino. He used to drink that cheap stuff, that Sneaky Pete stuff and all that nonsense. Garbage wine, we used to call it back then. Anyway, after he got drunk, he used to hurl the empty bottles at the rectory. He had a love fixation with the rectory. You know, some of them came through the windows. We called the cops on him so many times, it was unbelievable. One day he came to the back door of the rectory and he rang the doorbell and he said, "Hey, Father." I said, "What?" He said, "Get in your car and take me to Carrier Clinic. I'll get my life straightened out." I says, "Where?" He said, "Carrier Clinic." I said, "I'm going up there for the 6-month program." I said, "You're going to go up to North Jersey, the Carrier Clinic, for 6 months. Get in the car." I would take that sucker anywhere to get rid of him. I took him to Carrier Clinic. I figured I would never see him again. 6 months later, he came back. They always come back. He rang the doorbell. I opened the door and he said to me, "Hey, priest, you're an idiot." What? He said, "You're an idiot." "What do you mean I'm an idiot?" He said, "See all those drunks and those addicts that come to the back door of the rectory? You give them food, you give them money, you bail them out of jail, you do all this kind of stuff." He said, "Stop it. They come to the back door, you give them treatment, and that's it. Bet you don't get too many visitors anymore." Well, I still see Sonny. Sometimes I see him at the Lawnside meeting in Jersey. You know, he's 92 years old. He's in a wheelchair. He lives in assisted living now. And every time he sees me, he says to me, "Are you still an idiot?" I said, "No, you're half an idiot now. Getting better." You know, but they're the people that are the great teachers, powerful teachers. But you know, at that stage, I wasn't ready to really listen to him. I didn't realize the fact that I really was enabling a lot of people. And today, the program has taught me boundaries. It's taught me how to say no. It's taught me how to be able to ask for my worth. Things I could never do before. You know, it's weird. You know how we are as ACOAs, as codependents, as addicts. You know, we have no real sense of ourselves. And today I really feel a lot better about that. Do I have it together? No. I have a lot more to learn. I still go to therapy every 3 weeks. I still have a lot more to learn. I don't want to stop. You know, I tell people I'll stop doing this work 10 years after I'm dead. Then I'll take a break. But I enjoy what I do. I enjoy people. I learn from people. And I try to tell, my favorite thing I always say is, the greatest library on the face of this earth is the human library. Human beings. We all got a story. And your story is the greatest story on the face of this earth. That's the we again of the program. We come together, we share from each other, we learn from one another. They're my greatest teachers. I have so many angels I can look back on today. And I thank God for those angels every day. Because the angels are the teachers. Some of them were a pain in the ass. They really were. But you know, they're good teachers. You know, really great. But simple stuff. You know, I've learned, you know, I stopped trying to analyze everything and figure everything out. It's just simple stuff. You know, and the thing I try to teach all the time is, today I've got a voice. My little kid never had a voice. My little boy's got a voice today. He can talk. You know, I can talk about stuff. I can share about stuff. I can open up. I can never do that. I was always too scared. I was too busy, you know, with that wall and the image. I try to teach people today, give yourself a voice. You're allowed to have it. You know, it's amazing. Even as adults, we have to have a voice. Your voice counts. You know, it does. It's important. Anybody else? Yes.
I just wanted to ask, so I mean, obviously you've done so much positive service work and have shared your experience, strength, and hope, and still share your experience, strength, and hope. So I know for myself, like you get to a point sometimes where you start to feel good, and then you're kind of like, okay, this is good, I'm good, I don't need to, you know, keep pushing forward. And I am, but I've been at those moments. So, like, what even helps you to continue, like, you don't, to not say to yourself, well, I'm good, I'm just going to share my experience, strength, and hope, but not really take a look in the mirror and
Well,
to
I
stay
think-
centered in your program, I guess.
Well, I think you just have to keep renewing every day and realizing the fact that recovery works like this, ups and downs. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was home this morning. I didn't want to come here. I was having a good time at home. I mean, that's a part of me, you know. But then I got dressed and I came here. I'm glad I came. There's a dichotomy. Every time I have to, it's because I'm getting older, I guess. I don't know. But even now, when I have to work programs and do different things, I don't want to go to a meeting. But I solved the problem for my own group. I carry the key to the building. I got to show up. I have no choice. I learned that from the old timers. I'm going to hold on to that key as long as I possibly can, because it forces me every Monday night to go to my home group. You know, it's like my church in a lot of ways. So it's a connection for me. But do I always want to go? No. So there's that battle that goes on inside of you. But the question you brought up is good, because so many times addicts do this too. They want to get to the plateau where everything's wonderful and everything's great and they can just slide along. Do me a favor, will you? Go to a heart station. Hook yourself up to the monitor. You better pray it goes like this. When it goes like this, you're done. See how simple it is? Come on. You really want to get to a point where everything's just so much more fun to have the ups and downs. Do we all have down days? I sure hope so. I tell you, it's crazy, but it's all part of it, you know? There are times when you want to do service work, and there are times when you wish you don't want to do it. And that's okay too. It's all part of it.
It's like being married. Right?
Sometimes you wake up and say, what am I doing here? You know, I joked the other day. I stopped and I got a wife. I got 3 stepdaughters whom I inherited when I got married. You know, I'm probably the only stepfather that heard his stepdaughter's confessions at one time. I'm married a parish priest. You know, I got excited. I have 7 grandkids. You know, now, think about it for a minute. If I had all the money I spent on the grandkids and everybody and everything else, I'd be rich. Now I got a mortgage. You know, but it's fun. I don't care. But at the same time, there are times I look at it and say, whoa, take a break, will you? You know, the grandkids can really want you to be there all the time. You know, I love them. But sometimes I got to say, I need time for me. I got to get away. I need time to take a walk. You know, but those old tapes come back and they play. I'm telling you, I got to be careful, constantly be careful. That's why I got to make it a point to set boundaries. I learned yes and no.
Well, I want to double.
Okay.
You might not want to even answer this question, but I'll just.
Okay.
You mentioned Monday night being like church, and my group Sunday morning. And I went to St. Luke's, St. Joseph, LaSalle. You can guess what religion.
Spanish? Oh, that's right.
So I'm struggling a lot. I mean, I haven't been a weekly communicant or anything for a long time. But I feel very deeply rooted in that religion, and I struggle with what I feel like is a lack of spiritual guidance for me that this is providing, and I feel like a really strong dichotomy and hard. You know, I was raised that's spirituality, and it's wrong to have another type of spirituality. So I struggle with that a lot, because I get positives from this, and this seems to kind of negate that, especially in the current climate of the church that was raised.
Well, try to realize something. I can't answer that, okay? Because I really feel that, you know, you're dealing with human beings and with an institution. Churches are institutions. They're human beings that run them. Okay, so it's real. I'm sure that a lot of ACOAs are running churches. I did. So it's all part of it, you know. A lot of addicts are running churches. But the bottom line is, I learned this from AA. Take what you can use and leave the rest.
Right, right.
And keep it that simple. I can learn something from any church I go to. I'm going to give you an example. I go to the Episcopalian church now. Okay? People ask me, Vince, are you still Catholic? I say sometimes. Sometimes I'm Jewish, sometimes I'm Muslim. So I can learn something from everybody. Keep an open mind. And so I have to take what I can use. I don't get caught up in the politics of it. It's the same thing with the world or anything else. You can get yourself crazy into the politics because it's not it. What's in here? So you find what works for you. And if it works, do it. So I've seen, you know, all my stepdaughters belong to 3 different community churches. And I go there a lot, and I love them. They're fantastic. They give good messages. You know, and even the messages sometimes. I take the positive stuff, and the negative stuff comes out, I try to detach away from it. So just be open, you know, and enjoy it. Why do I go to Episcopalian church? Because it's small. It's quiet. It's peaceful. I love it there. You know, I go to 8 o'clock Mass every Sunday morning. Episcopalians are very similar to Catholic. And guess how many of us are there?
2, 3.
5. 5 of us. Yeah, I love it there. It's quiet. Yeah, the priest is a nice guy, you know. Good message. I enjoy going. What I enjoy the most is the quiet of the place. But it's the same place my home group is too. We use that hall of that church for our home group. So it's kind of nice. But that works for me at this moment. Next week something else might work. The thing is to be open, to learn from all the different things. You know, I look at the Catholic Church. You know, when I was a kid growing up in Camden, we had 7 Catholic churches. I mean, you probably have about 20 here, you know, and each one was defined by nationality.
Yep.
You had the Italian church, the Irish church, the German church, you know, you had the Spanish church, the African American church, you know, the Polish church, the German church, you know. When I was a kid growing up in Canada, I was told never go any church except the Italian church.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
What's the matter with you? And you should have been going to the building.
You look at customs and things, and you realize after a period of time, that's just the way it is. People look at things differently. I mean, a great story. My mother, oh God, I love her. You know, again, everybody comes out of their generation. They come out with their stuff, their experience. My mom, I was home from the seminary one summer, and my mom used to take care of the guy across the street. So the guy across the street is an old Italian guy who's in a wheelchair. My mom used to do the shopping for him, help him out a lot and all that. So she left to go shopping. She was going to stop over and see Salvatore. His name was Salvatore. And she came back from shopping, put in the groceries. I said to her, how's Salvatore doing? She said, he's dead. I said, well, stop. I said, what would you say? She said, I went over there to get the grocery list for him. He's dead. I said, did you call the family? Not yet. I want to get my grocery shopping done first. She looked at me crazy. She said, he'll be dead an hour from now. Same as he is now. See how they looked at life? She didn't want to miss all the excitement of the family coming over. You know, all that crazy stuff. See, I can look back on all this stuff now and laugh about it. And I give her credit. I wish I had that attitude. You know, he's dead. Okay. Whatever. Laugh.
Hi. I've been in ACA for almost a year, and I struggle with the spirituality part, feeling like there is a higher power or something that's greater than myself. and my go-to reaction is to isolate. And I'm wondering if you have any tips to deal with that one.
Well, you have to ask yourself inside of you, your spirit, okay, what works for you? We talk about higher power. Whatever works
Well,
for you.
it's not so much the identity of higher power, it's more the desire to isolate that I really want to conquer.
Okay, well, don't worry about it. First of
Oh,
all, okay?
all right. Very good.
Accept the fact that you isolate, okay? And then try to find a couple people that you're friendly with and tell them how help pull you out, that's all. Start with one or two, okay? There's a beautiful lady sitting next to you. So, you know, you've got the crazy one over here, she'll help you. You know, a little bit at a time, pull them out, that's all. I mean, we all got to come out of isolation. We hide because we're scared. The biggest thing in the world is fear. What overcomes fear? Love. The Course in Miracles teaches that all the time. You know, what overcomes fear is love. And so you get connected with some people that will just allow you to begin to love yourself a little bit. But come out slowly, okay? Don't come out fast. And don't look for magic. See, there is no magic. I do have a magic wand. Yeah, I keep it in my desk drawer. Everybody comes to my room, I want to solve all their problems in 35 seconds. I take the wand out and I wave it. Nothing happens. See, unfortunately, I'm Italian. I'm going to smack him over the head with it. We call that Italian therapy. Come on. When you keep looking for this quick solution to everything, good recovery and good growth happens a little bit at a time.
For the rest of your life.
One day at a time until 10 years after you're dead. That's right. A little bit of you'll come out of it, don't worry. At least you know it and you're in touch with it. Wow, that's fantastic. That's the important thing. Acknowledge that you're in touch with it. Okay. I think we sat here long enough.
Yep.
Listen, once again, thank you so much, everybody. And just keep doing what you're doing.
This is for you,
Oh,
from us.
oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's a Merry Christmas.
I want you to open it.
You want me to open it?
Have that pop out. Watch out.
Go into it.